Have you ever sat in front of a native English video and realized you couldn't catch a single word? Not one. You stared at their lips. You replayed the video. You turned on subtitles. You even slowed it down. But still, it felt like your brain just froze. If that's ever happened to you, you're not alone. I've been there too. So many times. I remember one moment clearly. I was watching a simple interview on YouTube, two people just having a casual conversation. No difficult topic. No strange accent. But when I turned off the subtitles, it felt like a waterfall of words. They were talking, but it didn't feel like English anymore. It was just sound. Fast-flowing sound that I couldn't catch. And that's the moment I realized something important. I didn't need to study more grammar. I needed to train my ear, because real English, the kind you hear in life, in shops, on the street, in movies, on the phone, in meetings, it doesn't come slowly. It doesn't pause for you. It doesn't wait for your brain to translate. It moves, it breathes, it dances. And if you want to understand it deeply, naturally, emotionally, you don't need more textbooks. You need a new kind of training, a new way of listening. That's what this episode is all about. Not the listening you do in school. It's not the kind where you match A to B, not the test where you hear, "The boy is playing soccer," and you check a box. No. This is about real conversations, real speed, real understanding, even if the person talks fast, even if they use slang, even if you're in a real-life moment and there's no script, no teacher, and no subtitles. I want to teach you what I wish someone had told me years ago. Your listening skills are not broken, they're just untrained. And once you train your ear, something magical happens. You stop feeling scared in conversations. You stop needing subtitles for everything. You stop freezing when people speak quickly. Instead, you start feeling free. You start catching the rhythm, not just the words. You start feeling the language, not just understanding it. You start to smile when someone talks fast, because now you're riding the wave with them. That's what I want to help you unlock, because if you can listen well, you can speak with confidence. You can respond with emotion. You can build real connections, the kind that change lives. Let me ask you a question. When you think of English listening practice, what do you imagine? Do you picture yourself sitting quietly, headphones on, trying to fill in the blanks of a worksheet? Or maybe you think of boring listening tests from school. Maybe those exercises where you hear, "The train arrives at 5:15, and then you have to answer a question about it." Yeah, me too. For a long time, I thought that was listening practice, and I hated it. It felt cold, unnatural, disconnected from real life, because in the real world, people don't speak like that. They talk fast. They don't pronounce every word clearly. They use expressions that don't follow any rule. And they sound different when they're happy, tired, angry, nervous, or in a rush. So here's what I believe now. Real listening practice should feel like you're walking into a story, not sitting for a test. I want to give you something different in this episode, a new way to experience English listening, something practical, emotional, and real. We'll go deep into why you don't understand native speakers and why it's coarse. It's coarse seat, only ruby kiss as the luxurious texture. That lies on, lie seat. And lysius squirt, my lies clade F. So why are I C? My C, so ligness, separative, equaste, you will see, lies, C, Y, seed, with corsi bead. SS quade, we see cade, by clis F. I see kag was I kaka and quide gakkai I sat as read it. It's lace it kai light statistics to kit to god I dispose it yet it's did it we are Isaac Not your fault what happens inside your brain when it hears fast English, how I trained my own ears. Step-by-step, simple exercises you can do every day to unlock fluent listening, the emotional power of listening beyond the words to the meaning, tone, and heart of English, and how all of this will make you a better speaker, too, because here's the truth. You cannot speak what you cannot hear. If you don't train your ears, you'll always guess. You'll always feel unsure. You'll keep asking, "Can you repeat that? Sorry, what did you say?" Slowly. You'll lose confidence. But if you train your ears, even just 10 minutes a day, you'll start to change the way English feels in your body. It won't feel foreign. It will feel familiar, comfortable, alive. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. One day I realized I wasn't listening to understand. I was listening to translate. Every time someone spoke, I waited. I tried to catch the first word. I translated it in my head. Then I tried to get the second word. And suddenly, they were 5 sentences ahead. Of me, I was always behind. That's when I discovered the secret. Listening in English is not about understanding every word. It's about understanding the message. And to do that, you have to stop translating. You have to train your brain to live inside English sounds, not fight them. You have to learn the music, the emotion, the patterns. That's what this episode will teach you. Not just how to listen, but how to connect, how to walk into a real conversation without fear, without pressure, without needing subtitles. Just you, your trained ears, and the confidence to flow. Are you ready? Because after this episode, you'll never listen to English the same way again. Let's start training your ear. Let's unlock the conversation you've always wanted to have. Why? If you don't understand native speakers, let me say something you might be afraid to admit out loud. Sometimes, when native speakers talk, I hear sounds, not words, not sentences, just a blur. They open their mouths, okay, and it's like they're racing through the language, like they're not even breathing. Between thoughts, one moment, I hear something like, "Whatcha ganado?" and I freeze. Wait, what? What did they just say? Was that even English? I used to feel so frustrated. I had studied hard. I knew grammar. I memorized vocabulary. I passed exams, but when I tried to understand real people talking, I felt like a complete beginner, and it wasn't just me. It wasn't because I was lazy or stupid or not talented. It was because no one ever taught me this truth. Native speakers don't speak how you were taught in school. They don't separate every word. They don't follow clear grammar structures all the time. They shorten things, they connect words, they drop sounds. They speak with emotion, not textbooks. And most importantly, they speak with speed, rhythm, and tone that you weren't trained to hear. Let me give you an example. One day, I was sitting in a coffee shop, listening to a conversation behind me, 2 native speakers, just chatting. I tried to listen just for fun, but I couldn't catch anything. It was like, so I was like, nah. But then he's all ya know, and I go seriously. My brain panicked. Where was the grammar? Where were the clear subject-verb-object structures I had practiced? Where were the formal phrases? They were gone. Because real English is not always logical. It's emotional. It's fast. It's human. Here's the real reason you don't understand native speakers, because they don't say words the way they're written. And your brain is trained for the page, not the sound. Let's break it down. 1. They speak fast, but not just fast. They connect everything. They don't say, "What are you going to do?" They say, "What you're going to do." They don't say, "Did you eat yet?" They say, "J eat yet, at." Your ears are listening for perfect words, but they're giving you connected sounds. If you've only trained with slow, clear, spaced-out English, then your brain doesn't know how to process this mess. It's not that you're bad at English. It's that your ear has never met real English before. 2. They drop sounds in writing. It says, I want to go with him, but in speech, I want to go with him. The to becomes ta. The with him becomes with them. Sometimes entire syllables disappear. Your ear was expecting, I want to go with him. But what you get is, I wanna go with him. So of course, you feel lost. You weren't trained for this. You were trained for grammar. Books 3. They use idioms, slang, expressions you've never seen before. Once heard someone say, I'm gonna bounce. I thought, bounce. Like a ball. Turns out, it meant, I'm leaving. Another time, he ghosted me. Spirits involved. Just a modern way of saying, he disappeared and stopped responding. If you've never heard expressions like these, you'll get stuck, not because your English is bad, but because your brain has never seen these phrases in real life. Point 4. They use tone and emotion. Not just words, in real conversations, people don't speak like robots. They laugh. They pause. They change their pitch. They speak with sarcasm, irony, surprise, kindness, boredom. Sometimes they say, that's great, but it sounds like they're annoyed. Other times they say, I'm fine, but their voice tells you they're not. If you only listen for words, you'll miss the whole meaning. That's why you need to train your ear, not just for sound, but for emotion. 5. Your brain is translating instead of living in English. This one is big. When you hear someone say, you want to grab a bite later? Your brain might go, grab equals catch. A bite equals one mouthful. Later equals time. Then you try to translate all of it into your native language. But by the time you do that, they've already changed the topic. Real conversations move quickly, and translation is a slow process. To truly understand native speakers, you need to stop translating and start feeling the meaning directly in English. That's what trained ears can do. They skip translation. They go straight to understanding. Let me tell you something that changed my life. I once asked a teacher, why can't I understand movies, even though I know all the words? She said, because you haven't heard those words at real speed, in real life, with real emotion. That's when I understood. I didn't have a vocabulary problem. I had a listening pattern problem. I had never trained my brain to hear English as sound, not just text. And the moment I started doing that, everything began to change. So if you feel lost when native speakers talk, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you'll never be fluent. It just means you need to train differently. You need to listen to fast English every day. You need to hear how people really talk, not how textbooks write. You need to immerse your ears in the music of English, because listening is not passive. It's a skill. It's trainable. And the more you train, the more you'll understand. Here's one more story. I was on a bus once, sitting next to two tourists. They were speaking English fast, naturally, casually. I wanted to understand. So I leaned in quietly, and this time I caught some words, then more. Then full phrases. I didn't understand everything, but I understood enough. That was the moment I smiled, because I knew my ears were changing. My brain was adapting. My confidence was growing. And that's what I want for you. You don't need to understand 100% today. You just need to train 1% better each day. Soon, you'll be in a shop or on a plane or in a Zoom call, and someone will speak English at full speed, and this time, you won't freeze. You won't panic. You won't feel behind. You'll listen. You'll understand. You'll respond. And you'll smile. Because you'll know, I trained for this. The 4 levels of English Lestion and me ask you something simple but powerful. When you listen to English, what are you actually listening for? Words, phrases, the overall idea, the feeling? Most people don't know. They just listen and hope something sticks. That's exactly what I used to do. I would press play on a video, try to catch every word, and get frustrated when I couldn't. But one day, a language coach said something that changed the way I listen forever. He said, "Listening isn't one skill. It's 4 skills happening at the same time." That hit me hard, because I realized I had only been training at level 1. Let me break it down for you. There are 4 levels of English listening. Each one goes deeper than the last. Each one helps you unlock a new part of the conversation. And when you understand all 4, fluency begins to feel natural. Let's go through them, one by one. And I'll share how each level showed up in my life and how I climbed them, slowly, imperfectly, but powerfully. Level 1. Words. This is where most of us start. You hear a sentence, and your brain tries to catch each word. I remember being in this phase for a long time. Someone would say, "I'm going to the store later." And I would think, I equals okay, double quotes, am equals verb. Going equals movement. To equals preposition. The equals article. Store equals location. Later equals time. I was understanding word by word, like picking up stones, one at a time. But the problem, it was slow, and if I missed one word, I lost the meaning of the whole sentence. This is why level 1 is helpful at first, but dangerous if you stay here too long. Because real people don't pause after each word. They connect, they flow. And if you're still trying to catch individual words, you'll always feel one step behind. Lesson from level 1. Train your vocabulary, yes, but don't stop there. The world doesn't speak in single words. Level 2. Phrases. This. It's where the magic begins. Instead of listening to individual words, you start hearing chunks instead of, "What are you doing right now?" You hear, "What you're doing right now." It becomes one flowing sound. And your brain stops translating word by word and starts recognizing patterns. I remember the first time I heard someone say, "Let me know if you need anything." And I was like, "Lemmy? What is Lemmy?" Then I realized, it's Lemmy. That was my first real experience with phrases. Not grammar, not rules. Just real-life rhythm. And once you train your ear to listen for phrases instead of words, everything gets faster. Your understanding doubles, sometimes overnight. Lesson from level 2. English is built on blocks. Learn to catch the block, not just the bricks. Level 3. Emotion. This one surprised me. I thought listening was just about understanding the message. But then I realized it's also about understanding the emotion behind it. Have you ever had a moment like this? Someone says, "I'm fine," but their voice, their tone, tells you they're not fine at all. I started to notice these things more when I trained at level 3. Once, I was talking with a friend who said, "Yeah, that's great." But her voice was flat, dry, not happy. That's when I understood. The words were positive, but the tone was disappointed. English isn't just logic, it's emotion. And if your ear can't catch that emotion, you'll miss the real meaning. Even if you know all the words at level 3, you begin to ask, is the speaker happy? Tired, rushing, sarcastic, nervous? It's not about the sentence. It's about the sound of the heart behind the sentence. Lesson from level 3. Listen with your ears, yes, but also with your feelings. Level 4. Intention. This is the deepest level. At this stage, you're no longer just hearing sounds or meanings. You're hearing purpose. You're listening for the why. Why is this person saying this? What do they want from me? What are they not saying but feeling? It took me years to reach this level, but the moment I got there, my conversations changed. Forever. Let me tell you a story. One day a colleague said to me, "I guess we'll see how it goes." Just that, nothing more now. In words, it sounded simple, but something about his tone made me pause. He wasn't just saying, "Let's wait and see." He was saying, "I don't trust this plan. I'm not convinced." His tone was flat. His eyes looked away. He crossed his arms. That's when I realized he wasn't talking about the plan. He was protecting himself. He didn't feel safe saying "I don't agree," so he softened it at level 4. I understood the intention behind the sentence. It changed the way I replied. I didn't just agree blindly. I slowed down. I asked for his thoughts, not built trust between us. That's the power of level 4. Lesson from level 4. Sometimes the loudest part of a message is silent. Train your ear to hear it. So where are you right now? Maybe you're at level 1, catching words. Maybe you're moving into level 2, hearing phrases. Maybe level 3, feeling emotions. Or level 4, sensing intention. Wherever you are. It's okay, because now you know the path. Now you know how deep listening really works. And now you have a map to grow your ear. From hearing words to understanding people. Here's how I trained through each level. At level 1, I used flashcards and repeated words out loud. At level 2, I listened to podcasts and practiced shadowing chunks. At level 3, I paused videos to listen to how people said things, not just what they said. At level 4, I started journaling after conversations, asking, what was the person really feeling? It wasn't fast. It wasn't always easy, but it was powerful, because as I moved from level 1 to level 4, I stopped just hearing English and started living it. Now it's your turn. Start today, pick one level and practice with it. Maybe listen to a video and repeat every phrase you hear. Maybe take a moment and ask, what emotion is this sentence carrying? Maybe look for intention in your next English conversation. Each level brings you closer to fluency. Not just academic fluency, but emotional, natural, confident fluency. The kind that feels like you're finally home inside the language. How I trained my EAR personal story used to believe that some people were just born with a good ear for English. You know what I mean, right? Those people who hear a song once and remember every lyric. Those students who seem to understand fast English without effort. Those learners who can watch a movie and laugh at the jokes without subtitles. That wasn't me. I didn't have a gift. In fact, I struggled hard with listening. I remember one of the first times I tried watching an English movie without subtitles. It was a comedy. Everyone around me was laughing, but I was sitting there, silent, not because I didn't want to laugh, but because I had no idea what they were laughing at. I heard the sound. I saw the expressions. But I couldn't catch the meaning. It made me feel small, like English wasn't a language I could ever truly understand, only study. And that hurt because I had spent years learning English. Grammar, books, vocabulary lists, exam prep. I did all of it, but when I sat in front of real English, natural English, I felt like a beginner all over again. That's when I realized something had to change. I decided to stop blaming myself and start training myself, and not just with more books, not with more grammar, but with something much deeper. My ears, I needed to train them like muscles, slowly, intentionally, and consistently. So I built a system, a method that came from pain, practice, and breakthrough. Not theory, not luck. And today, I want to share that journey with you, step by step. Step 1. I stopped pretending to understand. This was hard, because for a long time, I faked it. When I didn't understand something in a conversation, I smiled. When someone spoke too fast, I nodded and said, Yeah. When I heard unfamiliar expressions, I laughed politely, like I got the joke. But inside, I was lost, embarrassed, ashamed. One day, I got tired of pretending, so I made a new rule. If I don't understand something, I will admit it and use it as a training opportunity. I stopped saying yes when I meant what I started. Pausing videos and writing down confusing phrases. I rewound. I replayed. I asked questions. And guess what? The moment I stopped faking, my real learning began. Step 2. I created a listening ritual. I made listening a daily habit, not a task, a chore, but a ritual, something sacred in my day. Every morning, before the world got noisy, I put on my headphones and listened to native English for 20 minutes. Sometimes it was a podcast, sometimes a TED Talk, sometimes a TV show, but always real. Unscripted English, and I didn't just listen passively. I used 3 powerful techniques, maybe the most important part of my training. Let me walk you through them. Technique 1. Shadowing. I listened to a sentence, paused, then tried to repeat it exactly the same words, same rhythm, same emotion. It was hard at first. I felt clumsy. I couldn't match their speed. My mouth didn't move fast enough. But little by little, I got closer. And suddenly, I wasn't just understanding English, I was becoming part of it. Shadowing helped me feel the flow of real English. The way native speakers connect words, stress syllables, and breathe through thoughts. Technique 2. Dictation. This one was humbling. I would listen to a short audio clip to 10 seconds. Then I'd pause and try to write down every word I heard. No guessing, no skipping. Every sound mattered. At first, I made tons of mistakes. I thought they said going to, but it was gonna. I thought they said did he, but it was do. But every mistake taught me something. Over time, I started to recognize patterns. My ears got sharper. My brain became faster at decoding real English sounds. Technique 3. Deep repetitions. Sometimes, I'd find a 1-minute clip and listen to it 10 times in a row. Not to memorize it, but to feel it. First, I'd just listen. Then I'd repeat. Then I'd shadow. Then I'd write it. Then I'd listen again with my eyes closed. It wasn't about speed. It was about depth. And that depth trained my brain to listen below the surface, to hear tone, pause, stress, emotion, and unspoken meaning. Step 3. I let go of 100%. Understanding this might sound strange, but one of the biggest breakthroughs in my journey came when I accepted this truth. You don't need to understand every word to understand the message. I used to chase perfection. Every time I missed a word, I felt like I failed. But real life doesn't work like that. In real conversations, even native speakers don't catch everything. So I shifted my focus from perfect understanding to connected understanding. Now when I listen, I ask, what's the main feeling here? What's the speaker trying to say? What's the response I can give that keeps the flow going? Once I let go of perfection, I made space for progress. Step 4. I trained my ear in the wild after months of private practice. I wanted to test my ears in real life, so I did something scary. I went to local events where foreigners gathered, language exchange nights, volunteering meets, public talks in English, and I listened. Sometimes I understood. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I felt proud. Sometimes I walked home discouraged. But every time I grew, because real English isn't clean. It's messy. It's unpredictable. It's alive. And I needed to hear it in its natural form. Step 5. I made it personal eventually, I realized. Training my ear wasn't just about understanding others. It was about finding my voice. Because once I could hear clearly, I could speak clearly. I could respond. I could express myself without fear. That's when English stopped being a subject and started being a tool for connection. I started telling stories, joining conversations, even helping others who felt lost the way I used to feel. There was one moment I'll never forget. I was sitting in a cafe, listening to two native speakers at the next table. They were chatting casually, just like always. Only this time, I understood everything. Not just the words, but the jokes, the rhythm, the energy. I didn't have to pause. I didn't have to translate. I didn't have to work. I just listened, naturally, effortlessly, like I belonged, and in that moment, I whispered to myself, "You did it. Your ears are fluent now." So let me say this to you. If you're in the beginning, if you feel behind, if you've listened to English for years and still feel like you're underwater, you are not broken. You are not late. You are not hopeless. You just haven't finished your ear training yet. Start today. Even 5 minutes, even one clip, even one shadowing session. Because your ears deserve to be trained. And your future deserves to be heard. Daily practice that builds real LSTO and GLETs. Be honest. We all want to be better at listening in English. We all dream of understanding people in real time. No subtitles, no confusion, no stress. But when it comes to practice, most of us don't know what to do. Or we try something for a few days and give up when results don't come quickly. I've been there too. That's why I want to walk you through something I wish I had when I started. A daily practice plan, not just a technique, but a way of life that helps you train your English. Ear for real conversations, no boring exercises. No pressure to be perfect. Just simple actions you can take every single day to hear English more clearly, feel more confident, and speak more naturally. Why daily practice matters. You don't build strong muscles by going to the gym once a month. You don't master an instrument by playing it when you feel like it. And you don't become a great English listener by listening once in a while. You need rhythm. You need flow. You need repetition, because every day that you train your ear, even for just 10 minutes, you're building something inside you. You're making English sound normal. You're making fast speech familiar. You're making real conversations possible. Let me tell you what changed my life. It wasn't one big breakthrough. It was a routine. A set of small daily actions that built my listening power over time. So here's exactly what I did, and what you can do too. Morning routine, 10 to 20 minutes. I call this my wake-up. Listening. It's the first thing I do, even before checking messages or emails, because your brain is fresh in the morning. It's quiet, it's open, it's ready to receive, so instead of jumping into stress, I begin with sound. Here's how it works. 1. Pick one voice for the week. Choose one podcast, one YouTube speaker, or one English show, and stick with it for 7 days. Why? Because consistency helps your brain adjust to rhythm, tone, and style. You don't need 100 voices. You need one voice. Repeat it until it feels like a friend. 2. Listen. Don't watch. Put in your earphones. Close your eyes. Just listen. Even if you don't understand everything, let the sound wash over you. Let your brain get used to natural English speed and flow. This is not study time. This is immersion. Sometimes I lie on my bed with my eyes closed, just letting a TED Talk play. I'm not trying to catch every word. I'm just reminding my brain, this is the sound of the world I want to live in. Midday practice, 5 to 10 minutes. Micro-training. This part is important, especially if you're busy. I call it ear snacks. Just like your body needs small meals, your ears need small bites of English throughout the day. Here's what I do. 1. One phrase. One pattern. I pick one phrase I hear often. Something like, "You know what I mean? I'm gonna head out. Let me check and get back to you." Then I repeat it out loud 5 times with the exact tone I heard. I try to feel the rhythm, the connection of sounds, the emotion behind the voice. This only takes a minute, but it makes a massive difference over time. Your mouth and your ears start to dance together. And slowly, those fast native phrases become yours. Evening practice 20 to 30 minutes. This is where deep training happens. In the evening, I slow things down. Not just listen, but study the sound. Here's the full step-by-step plan. Step 1. Choose a clip. 1 to 2 minutes only. Pick a short clip of native English, a movie scene, a YouTube interview, a short podcast story. A vlog or documentary moment short is powerful. You don't need a whole movie. You need a focused piece of language. Step 2. Listen to it 3 times the first time. Just relax and listen. The second time, focus on sounds. The third time, try to shadow repeat after the speaker. Don't worry if you're slow. It is training, not a test. Step 3. Write it down dictation, listen again, and write every word you hear. Even if you have to pause every 3 seconds. Do it. This trains your ears to catch the details. Then check your writing with subtitles. Notice what you missed. Learn from it. Don't feel bad about it. Step 4. Shadow again, this time with confidence, after you. V listened and written the words. Now speak them. Match the tone. Match the flow. Match the breath. This is how your brain, ear, and mouth learn together. Step 5. Reflect. I always end with reflection. I ask, what did I hear today that was new? What did I understand more clearly? What made me feel connected to English? This reminds me that I'm not just learning a language. I'm changing my relationship with it. On the go listenings, sometimes life is busy. Time for deep study. That's okay. Here's what I do when I'm walking, cooking, cleaning, or commuting. Podcasts on repeat. Pick a short podcast episode and play it on loop for 2 to 3 days. Each time I hear it again, I understand more. Because the audio changed, but because I changed. Voice messages to myself, record myself speaking about my day in English. Then later, I listen back and shadow my own voice. It's weird at first, but powerful. I learn what I say naturally, and what still sounds forced. Weekly challenge planned to keep myself motivated. I set mini goals for each week. Here's a sample: day focus, taskmon phrasing shadow. A 1-minute clip Tuesday motion identified tone in a scene wed speed dictation. Practice Thursday reaction. Practice real responses. Free module subtitles. Subtitles setrafus, setraflectrite. Or speak what you learned dits. Not about perfection. It's about rhythm. Your ears need rhythm to grow. Why this works you may be thinking, but this seems slow. I want to understand English now. I get it. But here's what I've learned. Fast results don't last. Deep results do. If you give your ears daily exposure, daily feeling, daily sound training, in 30 days, your listening will change. In 90 days, your speaking will change. And in 6 months, your life will change. I've lived it. I've cried through it. I've celebrated through it. And I'm still growing. Let me end with this. Your ears are not lazy. They are waiting for you to train them, to trust them, to show up consistently. And when you do, they will reward you with freedom. The freedom to sit in a room with native speakers and finally feel like you belong. Not guessing, not doubting, just listening. And understanding one day you'll hear someone speak English at full speed and you won't panic. You'll just smile because you'll know. I trained for this. Real. Conversation V. School Ianja Laza. Let me ask you something. Have you ever studied English for years, passed exams, and still couldn't understand people in real life? I have. And it was one of the most frustrating feelings I've ever experienced. I remember the moment it really hit me. I had just finished an English course. We studied grammar. We practiced vocabulary. We did listening exercises from CDs that sounded like this. Good morning. How are you today? I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine too. The weather is nice. Simple, clear, robotic. I thought I was ready, but then I stepped into the real world, and someone asked me, "Hey, how's it going?" And I froze, because I didn't hear that in class. We never studied how's it going. We studied how are you today, and suddenly, everything I learned in school felt far away from reality. The problem with school English isn't useless. It gives us a foundation. It teaches us rules, structure, vocabulary, but it doesn't prepare us for real conversations. Why? Because real conversations are fast, emotional messful of slang, linking, and broken grammar. And in school, we learn slow perfectly and trit-style English. The gap between these two is where frustration grows. Let me tell you a true story. I was in a taxi. The driver was friendly. He looked at me and said, "So, been busy lately?" I didn't answer right away, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't understand the sentence, even though I knew every word. Been busy lately. Where's the subject? Where's the verb have? Why didn't he say, "Have you been busy lately?" That's what I was trained to understand. But in real life, people don't say, "Have you been busy lately?" They say, "Been busy lately." Busy these days. Working a lot, and they expect you to follow. Not pause, not translate, just flow. Asterisk, I realized something important that day. Real people don't talk like textbooks. And if I want to be part of real conversations, I need to train with real English. Real conversation sounds different. Let's compare. Textbook English. Hello, may I ask you a question? Real English. Hey, quick question. Textbook. I am going to visit my grandmother this evening. Real. Gonna see my grandma later. Textbook. I do not know. Real. Dunno. You see it, right? The meaning is the same, but the sound is completely different. If your ears are only trained to hear the textbook version, you'll miss the message when it comes fast and casual. That's why listening to real conversations every day is essential. The shop assistant. One time, I walked into a shop. I wanted to ask if they had something in another color. I had the sentence in my mind, "Excuse me, do you have this in a different color?" Before I could speak, the assistant looked at me and said, "Need help findin' something?" I blinked. Findin' something? What did she say? I hesitated. I felt embarrassed. My brain searched for meaning. But it was too late. The moment passed. She moved on. I lost the chance, not because I didn't know English, but because I wasn't ready for real English. That day, I promised myself, no more confusion, no more fear. I would train my ears to hear real-life rhythm. School teaches grammar. Life teaches flowing. School, we learn I have eaten. In real life, people say, "I've eaten. I ate already. I just had lunch. I'm good, thanks." Same idea, but different delivery. Grammar is important. But listening to grammar in motion, in a real human voice, that's where fluency begins. Because fluency is not just accuracy, it's flow, it's connection. It's being able to listen, feel, and respond in real time. How I shifted from school English to real listening, I had to unlearn some things. Not the rules, but the dependence on them. I started doing this, listening to native podcasts with no scripts, watching vlogs instead of English lessons, shadowing informal speech, even if it broke grammar rules, pausing movies to copy how the actor said something, not just what they said, asking native speakers to repeat phrases naturally, not slowly. Little by little, my ears changed. What once sounded confusing became normal, What once made me panic started making me curious. Now, when I hear "let me grab my stuff real quick," I don't freeze. I don't translate. I just understand. Because I've trained for this kind of English, not the test version, the living version, you can do this to start today. Not with another grammar worksheet, but with real sound. Find one native video a day. Watch it without subtitles. Feel the rhythm. Notice the tone. Shadow the sentences, not to pass a test, but to prepare for life. Because you don't want to be fluent in exams. You want to be fluent in experiences. In relationships, opportunities. In real human moments, let me say this clearly. You don't have a listening problem. You have a material problem. If you feed your ears only school English, you'll always feel confused in real life. But if you feed your ears real English, you'll start to understand the music of the language. And that's when you stop being just a student and start being a speaker, a real listener, a real communicator, a real part of the conversation. You've done the classroom work. Now it's time for the world work. Let the world be your teacher. Let voices be your guide. Let every fast phrase be a chance to grow stronger. Because real life is waiting. Real English is happening all around you. And now, you're finally ready to listen to it fully, freely, and without fear. How to understand fast English without as you bead-eyed to let me be honest with you. There was a time when I couldn't watch a single English video without subtitles, even the easy ones. I told myself it was just for support, that it helped me double-check, that I was still improving, but the truth? I was depending on them. Subtitles became my comfort zone, my safety net, my crutch. Without them, I felt lost, exposed, afraid. And that's when I realized something important. Subtitles aren't bad. They can stop you from growing if you never learn to let go. The day I turned them off, I still remember it. I decided to watch a short video, just 2 minutes. No subtitles, no pausing, just me, and the real speed of English. At first, it felt like a storm. Words crashed into each other. Sentences blurred. My brain worked so hard, still missed so much. But I kept going. And at the end of those 2 minutes, something amazing happened. I didn't understand everything, but I understood the feeling, the energy, the mood, the point. That was the first step, not to perfect understanding, but to real listening strength. Why fast English feels. It's impossible at first. Fast English isn't just about speed. It's about connected sounds, reduced pronunciation, emotional delivery, unpredictable rhythm. Here's what I mean slow English school style. I am going to eat now. Fast English real life. I'm gonna eat no. Sounds become glued together. Vowels disappear. Words get shortened, and if your ears aren't trained for that, even simple sentences feel like a code you can't crack. But here's the good news, you can train your ears. You can learn to understand fast English. You can stop needing subtitles, and you don't need talent. You need a system. You need exposure. You need consistency. I'll walk you through what worked for me. Step 1. Start small and let go of the ego. If you try to watch a full movie with no subtitles on day 1, you'll probably get discouraged. So start with tiny clips. 30 seconds, one short YouTube video, a podcast intro, an Instagram reel, small size. Big focus. Your job isn't to catch everything. Your job is to train your brain to listen differently. Let go of perfection. Let go of fear. Because fast English isn't something you solve, it's something you absorb. Step 2. Listen to the same clip repeatedly. Used to pick one short video and listen to it 10 times. Not because I was slow, but because repetition builds understanding. Here's how I did it. 1. First listen, just listen. No subtitles. 2. Second listen, catch familiar words. 3. Third listen, try shadowing. 4. Fourth, look up missing phrases. 5. Fifth, listen again now with confidence. By the 10th time, that clip felt easy. And my brain had learned to hear fast English better. This works because your brain loves patterns. When it hears the same sound again and again, it starts to predict. It relaxes, learns. Step 3. Use subtitles as a tool, not a habitum, not against subtitles. They're useful. When used the right way, here's my rule. Listen first without subtitles, then use them to check. This builds your brain's listening power first and uses subtitles only as support. Try this. Watch the clip. Once with no subtitles, then watch again with subtitles. Then one more time without. This cycle builds confidence. You start to trust your ears, and that trust is everything. Step 4. Practice catching the music of English. Fast English has rhythm. It's not just speed, it's sound movement. For example, what are you up to? Sounds like what you up to. It flows like a song. And when you stop trying to break it into separate words, and instead listen to the music, you begin to understand it. I used to hum sentences like they were songs. I'd walk around repeating, "Do you want to grab some lunch?" like a melody. A beat that helped me stop translating and start feeling the real flow of fast English. Step 5. Don't panic when you miss something. This one changed my life. In the past, if I missed one word, I would freeze, worry, feel like I failed. Now, if I miss a word, I keep going. I focus on the sentence, the vibe, the emotion, because real conversations move fast. And if you keep listening, you'll catch up. You don't need 100% understanding to stay connected. You need presence. You need focus. You need belief. Step 6. Visualize while you listen. This is a powerful technique. As you listen, imagine the situation in your mind. Let's say you hear, "We grabbed coffee and talked about the trip." Now close your eyes and picture it. See two people sitting at a cafe, smiling, talking, holding coffee. This makes the English real. It stops being just sound and becomes part of your memory, your imagination, your emotion. That's when English becomes part of you. Step 7. Build listening endurance. This is like training for a race. At first, 30 seconds of fast English is tiring. You get overwhelmed. But over time, 1 minute becomes 5.5, becomes 10. 10 becomes 30. You don't have to rush. Just increase your no subtitle time a little each day. Soon you'll be able to watch entire videos with no help. And it'll feel natural. Not perfect, but peaceful. Because your ears will be strong. A personal turning point. There was one moment I'll never forget. I was in an airport. A stranger asked me something fast, real, messy English. Something like, "Hey, you know, if gate 14's still board in." I heard they changed it. In the past, I would have panicked. But this time, I understood. Not just the words, the tone, the question, the situation. And I replied calmly, clearly, confidently, not because I had memorized the sentence, but because I had trained my ears for this moment. That's when I knew I don't need subtitles anymore. I've got my ears. The real reason to let go of subtitles. This isn't about pride. It's not about showing off. It's not even about fluency. It's about freedom. Subtitles are helpful, but your voice, your confidence, your power, they grow when you face the world without a script. And I promise you, if you train every day, if you keep listening, if you let go of fear, you will understand fast English. You will connect with real people. You will live in the language, not just learn it. And one day, you'll press play on a video. No subtitles, no panic, just peace. You'll smile and you'll say, "I trained for this." Listening for emotion, not just words. Asterisk, let me tell you. Something I didn't understand when I first started learning English. Listening is not just about the words. It's not just about grammar, not about vocabulary. It's not about sentence structure. It's about emotion. It's about the energy underneath the words. It's about the feeling behind the sentence. And if you miss that, you might hear the words, but you won't hear the message. The first time I felt it there was a moment. I'll never forget it. I was in a conversation with a native speaker. We were talking about work. Nothing too serious, but then he said, "Yeah, I'm fine." 3 words, easy to understand, right? The way he said it, the pause, the tension in his voice, the way his eyes looked down. That's when I realized he wasn't fine. That sentence didn't mean I'm okay. It meant I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I just don't want to talk about it. And in that moment, I understood something deeper. Language is more than sound. It's human. The hidden layer of listening, there are 2 types of listening. 1. Literal listening, what the person says. 2. Emotional listening. What the person feels. When someone says, "I guess that's okay," are they agreeing with you? Or are they disappointed but trying to hide it? When someone says, "Whatever," are they relaxed or are they frustrated? The words are the same, but the emotion behind them. That's where real communication lives. And as English learners, we often focus only on the first layer, the words. But if you want to connect, if you want to respond in the right way, if you want to speak with heart, you have to listen for emotion. How emotion sounds in English. Emotion doesn't always need a word. Sometimes it hides in the speed of the voice, the pauses between phrases, the tone high, low, flat, the energy sharp, soft, heavy, the silence, "Let me show you." I don't know. This can mean confusion, I don't know. Anger, I don't know. Sadness, I don't know. Dismissal, I don't know. Same sentence, completely different feeling. If your ears are only trained to recognize the words, you'll miss the meaning. But if your ears can catch the emotion, you'll understand the person, not just the sentence. A real moment I got it wrong there was a time when I asked someone, "How's your day going?" And she said, "It's fine." So I smiled and moved on. I thought everything was okay. Later I found out she had been struggling. She had a hard morning. She just didn't want to talk about it. I felt awful, not because I said something wrong, but because I missed what she was really saying. And that day, I made a promise. I will train my ears to hear, not just the sound, but the soul. How I trained my emotional listening, I didn't read it in a book. I practiced it in real moments. Here's what I did. 1. I started watching faces. When I watched movies or interviews, I stopped just listening to the words. I watched faces, how the actor smiled, how the speaker paused, how someone blinked or raised their eyebrow after a sentence. Because English is physical. Emotion lives in the body too. And by combining voice plus face, I started to hear the deeper layer. 2. I repeated sentences in different moods. One practice that helped me a lot. I'd take one simple sentence like, "I don't want to go," and then say it in different emotional tones. Sad, "I don't want to go." Angry, "I don't want to go." Bored, "I don't want to go." Playful, "I don't want to go." This trained my ear to feel emotion. It also trained my voice to express it, because when you learn how to speak with feeling, you start to listen with feeling. 2.3. I paused after every important line when listening to a podcast. I'd stop after strong sentences and ask, how did that make me feel? What emotion is this speaker sharing? If I had to describe this tone in one word, what would it be? At first, I couldn't always find the answer, but slowly my emotional vocabulary grew. Words like curious, frustrated, gentle, awkward, excited, nervous. Suddenly, English wasn't flat anymore. It was alive. And my ears were becoming fluent in feeling. Listening emotionally helps you speak better. You might wonder, how does this help my speaking? Here's how. When you understand the emotional meaning behind what someone says, you can respond in a way that actually connects. Someone says, "I'm so tired." You don't just say, "Okay." You say, "Rough day. Want to talk about it? Hope you get some rest later." That's connection. That's real English. Because speaking is not about showing your vocabulary. It's about showing your humanity. One time, I was speaking with a native speaker I deeply respected. He was explaining something technical. But halfway through, he paused and said, "You know, I just want this to work." His tone changed. His voice softened. There was vulnerability. That's when I stopped thinking about grammar, and I started listening with my heart. I looked him in the eye and said, "Yeah, I can hear how much this matters to you." And he smiled because I didn't just hear his sentence. I heard his soul. And that's when I realized the deepest listening doesn't happen in the ear. It happens in the heart. If you want to understand native speakers, if you want to respond naturally, if you want to feel part of real conversations, train your ears for emotion. Not just the sound, not just the grammar, not just the dictionary meaning, but the feeling. The pause, the silence, the weight behind the words. Because when you do, you'll stop being just a language learner. You'll become a real communicator. Someone who listens with kindness, who speaks with care, who connects beyond culture, beyond accent, beyond fear. And one day, you'll hear someone say, "Thanks for listening." And they won't mean you understood their words. They'll mean you understood them. You're not stuck. You're just not listening differently. YETIF. You've ever said to yourself, "I've been learning English for years. Why can't I understand people yet?" This part is for you. If you've ever felt frustrated, embarrassed, confused, like something must be wrong with you, this part is for you too. Because I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me when I almost gave up. You're not stuck. You're just listening the way you were taught, not the way real life works. The feeling of stuck, you know that feeling. I remember it clearly. You study, you try, you memorize new words, you listen to podcasts, you even do everything the teachers say. But when someone speaks, it's English in the real world, fast, naturally, emotionally, you freeze. You hear the noise, but not the meaning. And it feels like failure. It feels like you're broken. It's like maybe fluency just isn't for you. But that's a lie. You're not broken. You're not slow. You're not hopeless. You've just been listening the wrong way. My turning point: one day, I sat down after another failed conversation. I had tried to talk with someone at a cafe. They spoke fast, used phrases I'd never heard. And I walked away feeling stupid. But instead of quitting, I asked myself one question. What if I'm not stuck? What if I'm just stuck doing the same thing over and over? And that question opened a new door for me, because up to that point, I kept doing what school taught me. Listen to slow recordings, memorize word lists, focus on grammar, but I had never trained my ear to hear real English, the way people actually speak, with emotion, with speed, with connection. So I changed my approach, and that changed my life. What changed everything? I stopped chasing perfection. I started chasing connection. I stopped trying to hear every word. I started trying to hear the message. I stopped listening to be right. I started listening to feel. And most importantly, I gave myself permission to grow slowly, but powerfully. That's when the breakthrough came. Not from more pressure, not from more judgment, but from changing the way I listened. What I want you to know: if you're still depending on subtitles, it's okay. If fast English still scares you, it's okay. If you still miss parts of conversations, it's okay. You're not failing. You're just in training. Real listening is not instant. It's not automatic. It's not passive. It's muscle memory. It's emotional memory. It's lived experience, and the fact that you're here, listening to this, learning from this, means you've already stepped into a new chapter. There was a day not long ago. I was on a bus, sitting beside a tourist couple speaking English. They were laughing, talking fast, using idioms and slang. I just sat there, listening. I didn't understand everything, but I understood enough. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel behind. I felt calm, confident, connected, because I knew this isn't the result of a miracle. It's the result of daily, emotional, human listening practice. And you can have that too. If you remember nothing else from this episode, remember this: you are not stuck. You are becoming. Every time you press play on an English voice, every time you listen without subtitles, even for 30 seconds, every time you shadow a phrase or sit in silence and try to catch the feeling behind a sentence, you are growing. Your ears are getting stronger. Your heart is getting closer to this language. Your confidence is quietly waking up. So here's my challenge to you. Tomorrow, don't study harder. Listen differently. Don't wait to feel fluent. Start training like someone who already believes it's possible, because it is. And when the day comes, and it will come when someone speaks English fast, and you catch it, understand it, feel it, you'll realize, I was never stuck. I just hadn't trained my ears this way before. Now you have, and you'll never listen the same way again.